A mastermind is when we all talk together, have ideas, and we start writing them down. I thought that was a great question for a mastermind.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? A mastermind is when we all talk together, have ideas, and we start writing them down. Okay. Now, I will also bring in things like I was bringing in last week, and I got a couple more. We talked about possibilities last week, and today I have a couple of things. We're going to mastermind that thing that about the listing. I like that, but also we got to start taking action, right? Shannon, your big thing whenever we were talking one time was taking action. I got the big picture, but man, it's taking the action. And I want to,
I still struggle.
yeah, and I think sometimes we all do. If we're, I got to tell you, I don't struggle with that very much, and I'm gonna tell you why. And I don't know if I'm in, and I would like for you to say something. And we're gonna, this is might be a good mastermind also. But I've always been this way. In my people think I've been in the Marines because I am so stinking disciplined. And actually, and I want to say this to you because I think you going back to your subject matter, Shannon, about taking action. Okay, let's mastermind that for just a moment. Then we'll go to the listing. I am a freak with my schedule. I'm a freak. Okay. I mean, I sit here, here it is. And I sit here and honest to goodness, I have it on another computer on my Surface and it just stays open all day because I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is my 7th meeting today, and I got one right after this. Okay. I don't have any pleasure of not being there. And here's the other thing I'm freakish on. I think it's rude, and that this is where I get in trouble with everybody. You can yell at me if you want to. I think it's rude to be late. Okay, I just think that way. That's my mentality. Honest to goodness, that's not many people's mentality. Okay, they don't. But I look at it as people that are late all the time. Okay, I'll give you an example. Let me give you an example, if I may. We were in church Sunday. Okay. Now, if you go to church at all, and I used to be a pastor before I got into real estate. I mean, you cannot get all jacked up in your mind and your thinking when you walk out in the first 15 minutes of church. There ain't nobody there. But give it 20 minutes and man, the thing could be filled up. Okay. But here's my point. My wife, I like sitting on the end because I just feel like I got room and all that kind of stuff. So my wife and I are sitting on the end, right? And they are having a praise song going on. And my wife is all into it, man. She's like, close her eyes and she's just into it. Well, these people come in and start tapping her on the shoulder. Now she's all into God and spiritual and Jesus and praying and all this kind of stuff. And these people don't give a flying rip. Excuse me, I need to get by. That's what they go. And I'm like, I'm ready to fight right there in church, man. I'm ready to, somebody better stop me because I'm about to hurt somebody here. And, and but my whole point is this. I mean, as Simon is coming in.
Yeah, sorry I'm late. Sorry I'm late.
As Simon is coming in late and we're talking about being late.
Sorry about that.
So don't take offense to it, Simon.
Okay, no problem.
My whole point is this, right? You interrupt, right? That kind of thing. Now, there are reasons. Simon is never late, for example. I'm never late. But I am late sometimes, but you can bank on it. Something went wrong. Something is not right. Tell me your thoughts on, because I may need some help on this. I am really freakish about being on time. My motto is to be early is to be on time is to be late. I'm like, Are you realtors out here late for your clients?
Mhm.
Are y'all late for a listing agreement? Are y'all
No.
late for your,
They keep us waiting most of the time.
am I wrong
Especially
on
the
this? I mean,
buyers.
is this something that is just not,
No, I feel the same way as you, Rob.
Mhm.
I hate being late.
dang,
I have to leave early because if I'm running late, it does something to my like I get all upset about being late. So I get there
I
on
usually,
time, well, no matter what it takes, but the whole time I'm on the way, I'm stressed out and everything. So I just try to leave at least to get me there 15 minutes early.
I was always, I took a lot of listings. I was always 30 minutes early, always. And I would sit outside. I wouldn't go up to the door 30 minutes early. I got to tell you this though. If there was another realtor from another company in there, I did go knock on the door like 15 minutes early. And get this. If they were at the table and they would let me in, the seller would let me in. I would position myself somewhere in the living room where they could see me at the kitchen table, and that I would be eyeballing them, the agent, while they're trying to do their presentation. I don't know if that's bad or what, but I mean, I would definitely do that. Anyway, I digress. Back to you, Shannon. I'm freakish about my time and freakish about my schedule. So I take action. I'm always taking action. I am, but I'm like this. I'm like, okay, I'm good. I cheat the next person if I'm not there. I cheat the next person if I'm not there. For example, when I lead generated from 10 to 2 every day, Shannon, every day, 10 to 2. I called the expireds from 10 to 11. I don't care if I was on a roll. I felt like I was cheating the for sale by owners from 11 to 12. And in my mind, I was acting as if seriously, this is how crazy I am. I would think the for sale by owners in my head was sitting at the phone waiting for me to call from 11 to 12. And if I didn't call them, they were upset with me. So no matter how good I was doing with expires from 10 to 11, I'd shut it down and I would be calling the for sale owners because they're waiting for me.
Would you call that discipline? I would say that's discipline. I think it's a practice and a habit.
Yeah. Yeah.
We get in the habit of running late.
Yeah. My
We
wife
get
and
in
I
the
have
habit
date
of
night.
not taking action, right?
Yeah. My wife and I have date night on Friday nights at 5 o'clock every Friday night. We've been doing it for almost 40 years. I've never been late and I'm always on time. Never missed. Never. That's what I say. I'm never late and I never missed. Even when I was taking a listing, I would tell the seller, I got to leave by 4:30. And if they were not if I was in the middle of my presentation because they had a lot of questions, I just fold up my briefcase and say, hey, listen, you can do one of three things. You can sign with me now, sign with me later, or don't sign with me at all, but I got to go. How many realtors would do that? Not many. They're going to be right there and be late for their date night. But that's why me and my wife been married for 46 years in August. You don't miss date night. Am I just a freak?
Well, I'm a therapist and I'll say yes. No, I'm kidding.
I take that. I'll take it.
No, and I think I think our society in general has gotten really, the busier we all are, the more technology is supposedly making our lives easier. It actually has made us busier. And the busier we are, the more we are cutting ourselves and each other slack for timeliness. But then that's a problem. And then we're all, people are building resentments and frustration. And so I think that we do need to hold ourselves more accountable and have time be a priority.
But see, okay, and I would coach you on something. Let's go back to your original, what we're thinking about. How do we take action, right? How do we take action every single day? How we take action in the hours that we're supposed to take action, right? I think there's two things on this. Number one, are you a freak that follows a schedule?
Hmm.
And if it's not in your schedule, if you ever had bold or anything, if it's not in your schedule, it doesn't exist. If it's not in your schedule, it doesn't exist. It's not about selling real estate, everybody. It's about following a schedule. It's not about selling real estate. It's about following a schedule. And if it's not in your schedule, it doesn't exist. And that is truly my life. For example, if Simon says, hey, Rob, can I have a conversation with you tomorrow at 11 o'clock? Absolutely, Simon. In fact, I got it available right now. But if I don't stop and put Simon in there, guess what? Tomorrow he doesn't exist. Even though I said to him, hey, yes, Simon, we can meet at 11 o'clock. I can promise you I won't be there, Simon, because it's not in my schedule. Every little thing has to be in my schedule. Is that wrong, Brandy? Is that crazy?
When I was an athletic trainer and we had the rehab sports medicine, we did the treatments and stuff from ultrasound, stim, the hands-on work, everything like that to their rehab and guiding them through their exercises. If they weren't on the schedule, I couldn't necessarily accommodate it because they're such short time blocks as it is. I mean, we're talking half-hour time blocks for people and then certain exercises they would do on their own. So if someone wasn't on the schedule, then they might get lost in our previous setting. So it's pretty much the same way. Now, if it's not on the calendar, it's probably not going to happen.
Would everybody agree with that? And if you do, I want you to talk to me about that, because if would you agree with me, if it's not in your schedule, it basically doesn't exist? If that's the truth, then okay, Shannon, this is your mastermind. I keep pointing back at you. Then let's say I'm your coach, which I am right now. Then my question to you is, what's in your schedule? If we all agree that if it's not in our schedule, it doesn't exist, then the question is, what's in your schedule? And then the follow-up question would be, what? Do you follow it? Do you let things interrupt your schedule? See, it has to be an incredible medical emergency for me to interrupt my schedule.
I have one client that he takes classes in the afternoon. He's a vet, so he's on a VA loan, but his classes are in the afternoon, so I have to accommodate a morning showing. So that does kind of play into messing up some of my phone calls, but I also know that that's a special circumstance because
right,
he starts class at like 2, I think it is 2 to
and
2 to
and
whatever.
there are these one-offs, right? We got that. There are emergencies, right? But I'm talking about on a steady basis. Are you interrupting your schedule more than you are following it?
Oh, no.
I mean, Shannon, go ahead. You're going to say something?
Yeah, I was to say, so I feel like I'm noticing that I have prioritized education over everything. And I've always been that way my whole life. So if I look at my schedule, I have more learning blocks than execution blocks. And that's a problem. Like I have 2
Right.
PhDs and 2 masters. Like that's how I've always been. Like my life has always been that way. So that's not new with real estate, but I am realizing I'm not implementing what I'm learning, and I'm not implementing most anything because I'm just always learning.
That is one. What a great discovery, right? No, that's a great discovery, because I wanted to read you something. A lot of people that do inaction, they give it some other form of research, planning, preparation. They have other words for inaction. Right, your Shannon is like a little bit like that. Education, preparing, researching, look, that kind of thing. Mine was the opposite. I could have used some more better planning. I was more of ready, fire, aim. Okay, versus ready, aim, fire. But so many people are ready, aim, 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 aim. Get ready, get set, 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 and never go. I was one of these. Get ready, go, get set. You know, I was like, oh man, I'm gone, man. Where's everybody else? And then I make a mess of myself. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes whenever you don't aim and you fire before you aim, you'll hit something. You just don't know what you're hitting. Okay. So I think there's a combination, Shannon, that you got to take a look at in your schedule and say, okay, I got to have some planning and education, but man, I got to have at least half, if not a little bit more, of implementation. That was a great way of putting it. Great way of putting it. And so I've got this on recording, just so you know, and I'm going to go back and listen. So next week, I'm going to ask you the question, have you put a little bit more implementation into your schedule than you do education? Great. Okay. If you don't, I'm going to use that too, by the way, in my coaching techniques. Okay. Judith, you're in.
Yeah, I was just going to say I have the same thing because I'm all about learning and I never feel like I know enough. And so what I'm trying to do now is do things in the morning or at night to schedule in the learning part, because I found that when I was doing it, when I could be making my calls, at the end of the day, while I was doing it, I felt like I was doing something productive. But then at the end of the day, I would feel guilty that I didn't get the stuff done that was going to get me where I need to be. And the truth is, for me, I know enough. And I'm sure you do too. And it's just about taking that action and doing stuff that makes us feel uncomfortable, that gets us where we need to be. But it's a struggle. I mean, you just every day, once I start making the calls though, I kind of make it a game. And before I know it, I'm like, okay, I need to make at least a few more calls. So it's just starting. Sometimes that's the hard part.
Well, and that is absolutely right. That's why I was a freak of nature in following a schedule. So if I have 10 to 2, now that's a long time. I don't recommend that anymore unless you just want to be another freak like me. I keep calling myself a freak. But 10 o'clock, I mean, I knew I was so disciplined that I was not going to miss anything in my schedule. So if I put from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock for lead generation, I have to know inside the 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock who I'm calling. And so expires from 10 to 11, like 10 to 11 and 4700s from 11 to 12. So because it's in my schedule, I'm already ready for it. I've got my names already done the night before. I've got everything ready for my schedule on Monday or Tuesday, and bam, I go to work. It's not about selling real estate. It's about following the schedule. Yes, ma'am. Pamela.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. So I think maybe if you share what your mindset is before you pick up the phone for that first call, because they say getting started is hard. So what did you have a routine you did? Did you take so many breaths before you did your first call, or what was your mindset? What was your feeling going in and doing that first thing on your schedule? That might be helpful to,
Well, doing the first thing on my schedule, I mean, again, or right before I did like lead generation that people don't want to do, right?
Right.
Because again, before that, I was checking email or I was doing this. I made a game. Somebody said they made a game out of it. I mean, I think Judith. Okay, here, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. You ready, Pamela?
Yeah.
I'll tell you my mindset.
Okay.
Hi.
And this is how I think that I won a lot. Why I won, because I don't think most people think like I do on this. Okay, here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
I so enjoyed the battle of the minds. Just write that down for a minute. The battle of the minds. Okay, I'm calling you, Pamela.
Okay.
You don't want to give me an appointment.
No.
No, you don't.
No. I didn't
want-
know you were gonna call.
but I want an appointment. So guess what? I was so competitive in this that I so enjoyed. That's why I'm freakish. I so enjoy calling you and hearing your objections. I couldn't wait for you to give me an objection because there's no objection you could give me that I couldn't handle. None. Because I screwed it up so much the first like 3 months in the business because I would just call and wouldn't know what to say, but I would go learn. But at the back, you didn't want to give me the appointment. I want the appointment. Who's going to win? Who's going to win? And
You are.
that's my mentality. When I would go to a listing agreement, a listing appointment,
Yeah.
I knew the seller was going to fight me. And I knew I was going in there. And whoever comes out of there with the signature or without the signature wins. You can, so many realtors, let me say this, come out of a listing agreement without the signature and think they're going to win.
Mm-mm.
I wouldn't come out of there till they either signed it or kicked me out. One or the other. I'm going in there with that mentality. A buyer, you're going to buy today, Saturday. I ain't taking you out for the next 2 weeks. I know that's bad language, but that's Texas language. I ain't taking you out for the next couple of weeks. No. If I find you the right house and the right, this is what I would ask them at the meeting. If I find you the right home, the right price, the right terms, the right everything, the school system, everything, this Saturday when we go out, are you gonna write a contract? No. Okay, wait. If I find you the right house, the right, I'd ask like 3 times. Well, no. Why? Well, I want to see more houses.
Hmm.
So if I find the right house this Saturday, you're not going to put a contract on them. No. I'm not taking you out. See, most of you wouldn't say that. I did. Because here, you know why? Because I knew tomorrow from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, Shannon, I was going to be on the phone getting more appointments. So see, I could say no to people. You have a hard time saying no. That's the problem with most realtors. If you would put, Pamela, if you would put a dollar amount on your time per hour, if you'd put a dollar amount per hour, let's just say, let's go not real big, but let's go kind of big. You're worth $400 an hour or $200 an hour. Okay. And you go show a buyer for 20 hours over the next month, you show them property for 20 hours and you don't sell them a house. If you were a real businesswoman, okay, not saying you're not, if you were a real businesswoman, you'd have a P&L and you would put a minus $4,000 because that's what it cost you when you took that buyer out. If we would think that way, we would save ourselves so much money because we would ask the right questions at the very beginning. Are you going to buy? Because here's the thing, Pamela. Now, when you take the next buyer out, you're a minus $4,000 in the hole. Now, you better sell that next buyer a house very quickly and make yourself, $12,000. But then on your P&L statement, you only made $8,000. See, if we thought like that, like a businesswoman, a businessman, if we thought like those type of things, I don't know why I always thought that way. I was worth so much an hour, and I turned down so much business between 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. I bet I turned down at least $1 million worth of business. But I'll bet you I made $5 million, because I turned it down. Because here's the thing, if I violated my lead generation once, would I violate it again, everybody? How about again and again and again and again and again till poof, it's gone. And that's what happens to most realtors. They violate their action, Shannon. They violate what did you call it? What was the word? You said you do a whole lot of education and implementation.
Oh, execution. Yeah.
Execution.
Mhm.
They violate their executions. And you have to schedule your executions. And my executions was from 10 to 2. And I don't violate it. Just like date night, don't violate it. Just like working Sundays, I didn't work any Sundays. If I violated it once, I'd violate it again and again and again and again until I'm working every Sunday. So somewhere you got to say to yourself, I got to say no to that person. The only reason we don't say no because we don't have enough business. The only reason we don't say no to people is because we don't have enough business and we need that business instead of wanting that business. You know, one of our bold laws was this, and it's a great bold law. You might want to write it down. You teach people how to treat you. You got to teach people how to treat you because believe me,
That every day people don't get it as a concept, but we really do.
you
Like
do.
it's an important concept.
Yeah, because if you don't, they're going to treat you how they want to treat you.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's not how you want to be treated. So you got to teach people how to treat you. And I taught people in my 8 years of selling how to treat me between 10 and 2. Like I said, I probably wasn't the most popular person in my office. Because again, I'm not going to talk to you between 10 and 2. Well, I want to talk to you. I wouldn't talk to you. I wouldn't talk to my broker. I wouldn't talk to my manager. I wouldn't talk to anybody from 10 to 2. And finally, they all got it. They just left me alone from 10 to 2. They might be outside my door at 2 o'clock, and that's okay. But not from 10 to 2. Any thoughts? Any last thoughts on taking action and scheduling? I want to get to Judith, what Judith talked about yesterday, because I thought it was really good. And Judith, I don't know if you heard, you know, at the very beginning, I was telling them what you had said, and they all liked the idea of maybe doing a little bit of a mastermind around that. Whenever you take a listing, and I'm going to get my pen and paper out. Okay, so whenever you take a listing, Judith was saying, and it and it certainly is true, you should be able to get 2 or 3 more pieces of business out of any listing that you have. Okay, that you get, you should be able to get 2 or 3 more pieces of business. How? We certainly came up with a couple of ways that, you know, I can certainly tell you, you know, but I'll let you, I'm gonna put down here. I hope that we can come up with, you know, anywhere from 5 to 10. How can we get more business, another piece of business, buyer or seller, whenever we take a listing? Who wants to be first?
I'm happy to go first. So when I take a listing, I do door knock, I do open houses around it. So I door knock, but it's the way I release the listing. It's kind of a, it's kind of like Apple or Nike or people do. And I talk to my clients about it. This is how I present to them. When Apple or Nike goes to release, like Apple with their next phone, you don't walk into the store and see that the new phone is there. They build it up, they introduce it, they give you little pieces of maybe what's new and why you'd want it. So when I take a listing, I tell people I do kind of like tease what it is. We just give a little bit of information, coming soon, the front of the house, the interior, we build on that. And then we build up to the open house. We do no showings until the day of the open house. So no one has access prior to the day that we're going to have the open house, but I do open it up to the realtors prior to the open house so they can get in and out if they want. What I'm trying to do is generate a lot of activity around that home in a short period of time. I usually tell my client not to be home for the weekend, that we're going to have the home on the market for the weekend and be sold by Monday. But then I knock the doors midweek and invite the neighbors to the open house, and the last one I had, met someone who, when I handed them the card and the information on the open house, actually said, well, we need to talk to you because we need to sell our home. So I ended up with another listing after I did 2 open houses that weekend for this property. And after the second open house for it, I had an appointment with them to go walk through their home and tell them what they needed to do to get ready to come on the market. Now, the buyers that came through that didn't have representation, I tell them that I can let you know about new homes coming on the market in the area before anybody else, because I'm aware of them. People want to know what other people don't have information on.
You know, one thing that I love what you said, you build the tease almost.
Yeah, it is a tease. It
Yeah,
is.
you're building the tease. I don't know if we do as realtors, we do a good job of that.
It's
And we
marketing,
because
yeah.
we let's sell it right now. Let's get it done right now. Let's get it versus no, you can't see it. No, not until this date. No, no, no. And it's like building up and building up and building something. And then boom, man, there it is.
2 days, 1 to 3, 50 people, 50 groups of people, not just people, but 50 groups of people came through that home. Plus, we had showings before, after, and during that time. That's not counting agent showings. And it's a desirable area, but anybody in that listing area, now we send out, we said coming soon, our advertising on it, we did on Instagram, Facebook. We crossed off, we said coming soon, then we said open house. And then we crossed that out and we said under contract. So it was like boom, boom, boom. And that was a series of advertising or marketing. That's, I think, Rob, for some of us, I don't know how many here have been in the business for a long time, but we used to do homes, magazines, and all these things. That's where people would find you.
Right.
I think it doesn't matter your skill level as much anymore as your ability to get in front of people, because that's the challenge these days. So it's finding a way to market for your clients. Your client feels like their needs are met, but you're also marketing yourself and showing what you can do for the client. So you're trying to cover both sides of that. So listings are the name of the game, right? The buyers will find you because they're going to show up. I did an open house again another weekend and I got 2 buyers out of it, right away. They came in and, when you have massive groups of people come through like that, it's harder to talk to people and make the connections. So, there's 1 or 2 that you may talk to a little bit, but when you have, it's almost better when there's fewer people, but that depends on the location, the subdivision, the area, right? And I had fewer people through the other open house. We did the same thing, but I got 2 leads out of that one versus 1 out of the one where there were 50, because it's just too many people. And I had a title guy with me, and I always have a lender with me when I do my open houses. So it's a party. There's people there to greet. Everybody has to sign in. I had a woman say to me, do I have to do this? I looked at her and smiled. I said, yes, you're walking through a private resident. You must do this. And they then fill out the sheet. So it's,
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes you just got to tell them.
yeah.
And they'll be
they'll
okay
do
with
it.
that.
If you are confident enough and just smiling and saying, yes, I'm sorry, you do need to do this, they'll do it.
Okay. Man, that was some good stuff right there.
That's
Dang.
the marketing
Dang.
plan.
That was really, really good. Really, really good. Okay, somebody else. Next, we're talking about how do we get some more business? How do we get more pieces of business when we list a house?
Well, one of the things that I was really skeptical about and thought was kind of bad form, maybe, that I've actually had some success with, is also putting it on, like putting an advertisement, but doing it kind of different and uniquely on Craigslist and Marketplace. it doesn't necessarily do anything for the home sale, but it gets you a bunch of names and numbers, which gets you access to their name, to their sphere. And if you have a good follow-up system, that's sufficient. But I was super hesitant at first, but then I started doing it and actually have had good results.
Okay. Okay. Judith, you're coming forward. I can feel it, man. You started moving forward into the camera here.
I do. I run social media ads and I do get often a lot of responses from that. And if you do have a good follow-up system, it helps. So I would definitely advertise on Facebook and Insta and Google.
Yeah, and I mentioned this the other day, a couple of things that I have several people in my organization that do videos real well of their listings and their open houses and that kind of thing. They do a lot of teasing from the video. They may show 1 or 2 rooms and then that's it. And if you want to see the rest, and of course they have it maybe staged or something that really, really looks great. But again, they do a ton of business, and they do. And I say it's not a person on the team. These are 2 separate agents, but they're in the same area and they do things together. I don't know if you could do things together with somebody. I mean, because it seems right now I got 3 sets of agents that they're not on a team together, but they're in my organization, my EXP organization. But the bottom line is they do a lot of stuff together. And I'm just finding that in 2s, sometimes it is a little bit more, even more powerful than 1. They go door knocking together. And boy, they have found listings left and right just by the 2s. Again, I don't know if you could have a 2 somewhere or take somebody with you or something on that line. I can tell you, kids, if you got well-behaved kids or grandkids, they do a good number for you. Bringing them, people love that kind of stuff. I mean, they really, really do. You don't think about it, but it is logic makes them think, emotion makes them act. Logic makes you think, emotion makes you act. Like, Brandy, whenever you're showing property and everything, people buy by, there are some people that buy by logic. Okay. I mean, you got engineers and people like that, right? Maybe even college professors, they buy by logic, but most people buy by emotion. That's where they will act. They all of a sudden see something inside of the house or, big rock fireplace or something like that. And sometimes the agent tries to talk them out of it because all the rest of the house is not what they want. And it's a $700,000 house and they love the rock fireplace. Sell them the $700,000 rock fireplace, for goodness sake. Another thing I put down here, and I think I said this to you, Judith, is door knocking. If you have a $500,000 house, go door knock some $200,000 neighborhoods because they may be ready to move up. Or go door knock some $1 million neighborhoods because they may be ready to move down. Find some of those people. I know Simon mentioned yesterday, I don't think we do enough, and I'm not for sure what to do. I don't think we do enough with signs, the signage in the yard. Again, I don't know how fast things are selling right now. But again, if you have good amount of listings and that kind of stuff, I'm gonna give you a couple of suggestions, or at least one. Let me go to Judith, since Judith is the one that brought this up. Judith, I mean, how many days on the market in your area? What's the days on the market?
Average right now is 81 days.
81 days. All right. So any listings that I would sell, and you should always do this. You should have some sign riders made up that tells how many days it took to go under contract. So in other words, if yours, Judith, was like 81 days and you went under contract or sold it in 42 days, you put that up. You put that on the sign. Sold in 42 days. Sold in 8 days. I mean, when I put my house on the market, in Celebration, my realtor couldn't do it because of the laws in Celebration itself, but it sold in 5 hours. That would have been cool to put up on a sign. Because here's the deal. the neighbors are going to see it. The neighbors. And if people are thinking about selling their house and they see that you sold it in less days than what the normal is, that just, I mean, and if you could have 8 or 10 listings that are out there and you sell most of them under the main days on the market, you should put days on the market on there. Is there anything else you could do with a sign that draws attention?
You can tell the special feature of the house on the sign. If you have a first floor master, you have a pool, finished basement, if you have basements in your area, things that would. You have
Attract,
to be careful with that if your tax assessor doesn't know about it, though.
attracting the buyers. Let me
I
ask you
had-
something. Let me, Judith, go ahead.
I had a listing one time that when you pulled up to the front of the house, it looked like just really, a simple house. But when you walked in, it was amazing. And then it had these incredible views of the downtown that you wouldn't know it had until you came in the house. So we made a billboard sign of the pictures. I used to be there for open houses and people would drive up, stop, and leave. And I wonder why they wouldn't come in until I realized it's just because the house didn't look all that great from the outside. Like you had no idea these amazing things were inside. So we did a billboard style, sign. So I had the pictures on there. And I've also do QR codes so people can flip through and see.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Now, we didn't have QR codes when I sold real estate, but I would think QR codes are the deal these days. I think every sign should have a QR code. I bought this 1-800 number. I don't know if they still do that. And I had it hanging on all my signs. And they could call in and get a little bit of a description of the house. And the next morning, I got the phone number and everything from that company of who called in on the house. They captured their phone number and I was able to call them back. Is that illegal now? Or can they still do that? Can you still do that?
Yeah, do it here.
You have to
You-
have them fill out a consent form when you have them
Really? They
give
got
you
to
their information. It's like this little, so for mine, I have little funnels. So I go there and they fill out something that says, yes, I agree to be texted or email. They've got this little consent form. At least that's who the company I work with requires, because last year they passed some laws about texting people.
Well, that's
So-
very interesting. Very, very interesting. Because see, yeah, I have seen it also before where they have texting on the sign. Text this number for more information. Okay. And then of course you capture their phone number, whenever they text in. And they opted in. They opted in whenever they texted you. They didn't have to text. So they opted in. So therefore you're able to call them because they opted in. Because they could have easily passed on it or called you. But again, we're talking about how to get more business from a listing. And I think there's things that we could do with the signage that could get you more buyers or sellers or whatever it is. What else? Anything else that you can think of? Okay. Well, again, I always do believe that you could get 2 or 3 more pieces of business if you really concentrate on getting those businesses, right? I mean, it's work. Let me say this, it's work. I mean, just think about what, again, Pamela does. I did the same way. I didn't have open houses. I think most realtors do boring open houses. I had open house events. Okay. I mean, I had a party. I had a circus. I had flags all over the place. I mean, I had all kind of stuff going on. I did big giveaways at the open houses. It was just a monster. And I averaged somewhere right around 75 people in my open houses every 2 weeks. I was taught this by a guy named, I told you guys, Judith, Jim Droz. Remember I told you about him that on all his flyers, he would do this. Oh, look at that. Did you see that? I was giving you guys some hearts. Watch this. Look at that. Whoa. Dude. I love you, Simon. You told me how you loved me the other day on the phone. I mean, you were saying that.
Yeah.
Oh, but what he did, and by the way, just to give you credence with him, he was the #1 Central 21 agent in the world in 1987.
Mm.
And in 88, he sold 300 something houses with only one assistant. Okay. But he, on every flyer he ever put out or ever did, he would have an edge like this, and it would have Jim Droz, 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 all around, because he said he wanted people to know his name. And so every flyer had his name around the edge. And he said it didn't cost him hardly any more money, but it was around the edge. He taught me the open house events. He averaged, you ready for this? 150 to 200 people. He did it on Friday nights. He
Wow.
put a big spotlight in front of their house. You know, those spotlights that you go look
Mhm.
for at wherever it is, and you go try to hunt it down. Most of the time, the police would have to come out and direct the traffic for his open houses. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, Judith,
Okay, I don't
bring
know
us
if
home.
you're okay with this or not, but if someone wants to practice scripts, I don't have a lot of time, but I'm interested in finding someone to practice scripts with, if anyone's interested in that.
You know something, again, I like what you're saying, and I'll let them contact you, if they want to do it. A lot of times they don't commit right here. And a lot of times when you only have 6 people, or 5 people, nobody commits. If we had
Okay.
105 people, you'd have 10 people that would commit.
I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah. And we'll get bigger and bigger, but I appreciate that. I mean, that's pretty bold to want the script practice.
I'm gonna put my phone number on here.
Okay, yeah, put that into the chat and everybody grab her phone number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're missing one person. Oh, Michael. All right. Did you put it in there?
I am.
Oh, okay.
Thank
Good
you.
time, Rob.
I lost you. I can't
I'm
hear
sitting there
you.
talking and I must have muted myself somewhere. I don't know how I got muted. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this today. I mean, again, kind of 2 sets of things, thinking action, Shannon, and scheduling. And I love some of the things that you did say, the implementation and execution versus just planning, right? And get that into your schedule, and then different things about, did you ever get that in the chat? Is my chat
I
working?
put it
Oh,
out
there
there.
it is. Got it. There it is. Thank you for that. No pressure. Hey, one of our bold laws was no pressure, no diamonds. So man, put the pressure,
All right, then I'll put the pressure out there.
Well, listen, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to do your numbers for next Monday. I am looking at it and seeing it a lot of times. And those that are putting the numbers in, it's calculating it down at the bottom so you can really see how many contacts per this and what it looks like. And then in 3 or 4 or 5 months, you'll be able to really predict your business. So keep doing that and discipline yourself. Put it in hey, Shannon, put it in your schedule. Do your numbers on Friday or Sunday. All right. Thank you guys. Talk to you soon. Okay.